진짜 많다.
진짜. 여러분 이제 얼마 안 남았어요.
콘서트에서 저렇게 해주시잖아.
맞네. 저 우리 그거.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Diaries channel. At first glance, the title sounds ridiculous. Is Jikook Taekook's fake husband? Feels like something born from pure chaos inside the army timeline. It's funny, dramatic, and slightly unhinged. Yet somehow it perfectly captures the emotional storm that happens every time Taekook has a moment, and Jikook just exists. Because no matter what side people are on, whenever Jungkook is seen with Taehyung, a strange tension always appears in the background, and Jimin's presence, even when silent, suddenly feels louder than any interaction on screen. The joke about Jikook being Taekook's fake husband didn't come from nowhere. It came from years of fandom dynamics, from endless edits, theories, ship wars, and that uncomfortable truth that Jungkook's bond with Jimin has always been too emotionally deep to ignore, even when he is standing right next to Taehyung. So when people joke that Jikook is the fake husband to Taekook, what they are really saying is that Jimin's emotional position in Jungkook's life feels permanent, untouchable, and almost threatening to any other ship narrative. That's why every Taekook date, every Taehyung and Jungkook spotted together headline, instantly becomes dramatic. It's never just two friends hanging out. It becomes a battlefield of interpretation. Taekookers see romance, destiny, and exclusivity. Jikookers see comfort, stability, and an emotional bond that cannot be erased by one outing. And neutral fans watch the entire thing unfold like a K-drama with no script and too many plot twists. When people ask, will Taekook's date end everything? What they really mean is, will one visible moment be strong enough to rewrite years of emotional storytelling that Jikook has built without even trying? Because Jikook has never needed dramatic headlines. Their bond lives in micro-expressions, in the way Jungkook relaxes around Jimin, in the way Jimin protects Jungkook emotionally, in the way their energy feels safe rather than loud. Taekook moments feel cinematic. Jikook moments feel domestic. That difference is what drives the joke of fake husband. A fake husband is someone who looks official in public but doesn't hold the emotional core. And in the eyes of many fans, Jimin is the one who holds Jungkook's emotional gravity. Not through possession, not through jealousy, but through consistency. Through that quiet, steady presence that doesn't disappear no matter who Jungkook is standing beside. So when Taekook goes on a date, whether real or rumored, the fandom reacts like the world is about to end. People post crying emojis, laughing emojis, angry emojis. Some declare victory, some declare heartbreak, but Jikook just remains. And that is what makes the situation so fascinating. If Taekook is fire, Jikook is gravity. Fire is visible. Gravity is invisible but unstoppable. That's why the idea that Taekook's date could end everything feels dramatic but unrealistic. One outing cannot erase years of emotional storytelling that fans have watched unfold. Jungkook doesn't suddenly forget how he leans into Jimin's presence when he is tired. Jimin doesn't suddenly forget how he reads Jungkook's moods without words. Those things are not staged. They are lived. The humor in the fake husband joke is that it flips the traditional narrative. Instead of Jikook being threatened by Taekook, it suggests Taekook is the one trying to exist in a world where Jikook already feels married emotionally. And that's why people laugh, because humor is often a soft way to express something that feels too real to say directly. But then the question comes back. What if Taekook really is serious? What if this date isn't just friendly? What if it changes everything? And that's where fandom fear begins. Because fandoms aren't just about ships. They're about emotional investment. People attach parts of themselves to these dynamics. Jikook represents softness, healing, emotional safety. Taekook represents passion, intensity, unpredictability. When one seems to win, it feels like a personal emotional loss to the other side. Yet BTS has never promised romance. They have only ever shown connection. The tragedy of ship wars is forgetting that multiple bonds can exist without canceling each other out. Jungkook can deeply care for Taehyung and still be emotionally anchored to Jimin. Jimin can be Jungkook's safe place without being his only world. So when fans say, is Jikook Taekook's fake husband? What they are really asking is, why does Jikook always feel like the emotional constant, even when Taekook is the visual focus? And when they ask, will Taekook's date end everything? What they are really asking is, can one moment rewrite a story that has been quietly building for years? Because Jikook's story is not written in headlines. It is written in glances, in comfort, in instinct. It doesn't shout. It breathes. And breathing stories do not end because of one dramatic scene. If anything, Taekook dates don't end Jikook. They highlight Jikook. They remind people of what is missing in loud moments. Emotional grounding. So maybe Jikook isn't a fake husband. Maybe Jikook is the emotional marriage that exists regardless of who Jungkook is seen with. And maybe Taekook dates aren't endings. They are chapters in a much larger story about how complex human bonds really are. Because real connection doesn't disappear when the camera shifts. It just waits quietly for the spotlight to move again. The reason this topic never gets old is because it touches something deeper than shipping. It touches how people understand love, attachment, and emotional security. When fans joke that Jikook is Taekook's fake husband, it isn't really about mocking Taekook. It's about acknowledging that there is a layer of emotional intimacy between Jimin and Jungkook that feels almost unmovable, like a foundation that was built before any dramatic moment ever happened. Taekook moments often come with sparks. They feel electric, bold, and sometimes chaotic. They are the kind of interactions that look like scenes from a movie. A glance, a smile, a sudden closeness, and the internet explodes. Screenshots are taken, edits are made, theories are born within minutes. It is fast, intense, and visually powerful. But Jikook is slow. Jikook is quiet. Jikook is the type of connection that doesn't beg for attention. It reveals itself only to those who are patient enough to notice small details. The way Jungkook subconsciously mirrors Jimin's movements. The way Jimin becomes gentler when Jungkook seems overwhelmed. The way their energy softens when they are together, as if the world becomes less loud. That's why Taekook dates never truly feel like a threat to Jikook. They feel like a contrast, a reminder of two completely different emotional languages existing in the same space. And that contrast is exactly what fuels the fake husband joke. In many dramas, the fake husband is the one who looks official but lacks emotional depth. The real connection is hidden, quiet, sometimes invisible to others, but undeniable to those who feel it. Fans unconsciously apply that trope here because human brains love stories, and BTS unintentionally gave the fandom a story rich enough to be interpreted 1,000 different ways. Because for many armies, Jikook isn't just a ship. It is comfort. It represents a love language based on protection, emotional honesty, and gentleness. Losing that idea feels like losing a safe place. Meanwhile, for Taekookers, a date feels like validation. It feels like proof after years of defending their belief. Feels like finally being seen. That is why reactions become extreme. Both sides are protecting something personal, not just an idle pairing. But here is the truth that fandom sometimes avoids. One bond does not cancel another. Jungkook is allowed to have different emotional connections with different people. Taehyung can bring excitement, freedom, and intensity. Jimin can bring grounding, safety, and emotional understanding. These are not enemies. They are different emotional roles. So maybe the real question was never, is Jikook Taekook's fake husband? And it was never, will Taekook's date end everything? Maybe the real question is why we keep trying to make love look simple, when it has never been simple. Why we keep trying to crown one bond as the winner, when human connection was never meant to be a competition. If Taekook is the spark that lights up the night, then Jikook is the warmth that remains after the fire fades. One is exciting, the other is enduring. And both can exist without destroying each other. So no, Taekook's date will not end everything. And Jikook is not a fake husband. Jikook is the emotional language that doesn't need proof. It doesn't need announcements. It doesn't need victory. It simply exists. And maybe that's why it scares people. Because what is quiet, stable, and real cannot be easily controlled by narratives, edits, or headlines. In the end, BTS gave us something rare. A story where love is layered, where bonds are deep, and where connection is not owned by one interpretation. Whether you are Taekooker, Jikooker, or just an army who loves them as seven, remember this: no single moment can erase years of emotional history. So before choosing sides, choose understanding. Before choosing drama, choose empathy. And before asking who wins, ask what this story is really teaching us about love. Because sometimes the most powerful relationships are the ones that don't fight for attention. They simply stay. Thank you for watching. See you in the next videos.